welcome to the SaaS Leaders Lounge, your portal to the minds shaping tomorrow's technology. Hosted by yours truly, Ramon. Today, we're venturing into the AI series where we spotlight the pioneers redefining our digital landscape. We're honored to host Miriam Fayaz Toshizi, the ingenious force behind Deepsearch Labs. So stay with us for this session that promises to enrich your understanding of AI's profound potential. Miriam, could you unfold the narrative that guided you to the birth of Deep Search Labs and how your path illuminated its founding principles?
My background is electronics, electrical engineering, and then I specialized in signal processing. And I then went and worked in finance, in buy side and sell side. In buy side, I had a manager called Curtis Costard, who was the chief investment officer. He was very keen on turning, we had all these themes on the wall, but we were not actually doing thematic investing. And so I was a quant researcher. So he came and he said, "Oh, I wish we could like quantify themes and then we can use that for investment purposes." And I started looking into it and I realized there aren't any solutions that offer quantifying themes in the way that I wanted it to happen. So I realized there's a gap in the market and I told Kurt this. And then I
Yeah,
decided I wanted to set up the company. So I set up the company. Kurt joined as an advisor. When we started, we thought we were a thematic solution, but then we realized actually
yeah,
we're not. We are a search engine because we digest a lot of data and we map this data, and then this data you can query with like large language models. And so it started with that, and then we realized actually we are a search engine rather than a thematic solution, and we kind of got labeled as that as well from that point onwards.
Brilliant. That's an exciting journey, I must say. The fact that Kurt has stayed on, he believed in the vision you had, quantifying themes, is definitely a gap in the market, I would say. Putting it that way, I've never necessarily heard of that before. But I think for it to evolve into realizing you're a search engine, I'm interested to know during your voyage within the AI realm as well, what moment underscored AI's transformative prowess in search technology for yourself?
We've always been machine learning focused. I actually don't think artificial intelligence exists, right? In my view, there's no such thing as artificial intelligence. It's just machine learning. And the
Yeah.
current large language models are just brute force machine learning, i.e., you just put in a large amount of data in and hoping that it would produce like really good output through probabilistic stochastic models that they're based on. So it's not really anything intelligent about it. It's just all probabilistic based. And so I don't think artificial intelligence exists. But from the beginning, when we set up the company, it has always been machine learning focused. Like from the moment
Yeah.
we pull information out to the moment we create this map of information, it's all machine learning focused, and it doesn't include just generative algorithms, but all kinds of algorithms, from advanced computational linguistics all the way to simple time series analysis. And it entails a vast array of machine learning. Now, if you just focus on the parts of machine learning, you're never going to achieve anything. So the point of building a product is to understand the use case of the product, and I am the user of the product because of my background. So I was actually the user of the product and I decided to build this product, right? And so to build the product, I needed to use certain methodologies and I used them, right? But it was
Yeah.
all very organic growth, almost, like rather than I must use like generative algorithm. There was no must. It was just part of the plan, if that makes sense, and it fitted in
Yeah.
well.
It's funny you said that about not believing in AI and it's just machine learning. As not the previous podcast, but the one right before that, we had a gentleman called Gary who's the CEO of Second Mind, and he said exactly the same thing as yourself. So I guess great minds think alike, as they say. But yeah, I think the organic growth is just it had to include, as you mentioned, Gen I and the latest, ensuring that the speed, the quality, and also the low cost was involved in the production. But you've recently introduced some revolutionary features at Deepsearch Labs. Are you able to detail one such innovation and also its implications for the AI sector?
Yeah, so at the moment, a lot of the artificial intelligence companies are concepts, right? They're concept based. They don't have application. We
Yeah,
actually focus predominantly on application, right? And a lot of the companies are focusing on the 90%. The 90% is data analysis, data processing, using large language models to do summarization, to chatbots to chat with your data, like, and retrieve information. But what we've done is we've went 2 steps ahead. One is we create this map of information. From this map, we would like to create a report. And there are
yeah,
3 types of reports that we are focusing on. Market research reports. So we create a consensus market research report from all the data sources that is ingested into the application. That's the first one. Second one is an equity research report. So equity researchers, a lot of the complaints that I'm hearing in the market, right, from portfolio managers, is that equity researchers are still living in the old world where they're recommending a buy and sell on a stock. But for example, this portfolio manager, he basically mentioned, I don't understand why I need to own a car company if I don't understand the future of cars, right? And so if I am owning a car company, I would like to know, are cars relevant in the next 5 years, right?
yeah,
And so equity researchers cannot provide that at the moment. Right. So the reports that we are creating will be a mixture of macro, i.e., cars are relevant or not, and detailed, i.e., like, is this company a company you should be buying and selling? So that's something else we are working on. And the third one is video generation, right? So we've got 2 sets of report generation. One is market research report. The other one is equity research report. And then the third one is video generation. So we are turning this
yeah,
map of information into quick documentaries. So quick docu-series of like different sorts of topics. And you can find them on our YouTube, for example, YouTube
yeah.
channel. You can see like the short videos we've created and long videos that we've created, and they all are end-to-end automated, automatically generated. So that's going to be content. Is that I think we can be used as a lobbying tool, right? An automatic lobbying tool by companies, by politicians, by product owners, by
Yeah.
researchers, by education, like, industry, because education industry also requires revamp and progression. And if they can create very quick videos for children on a specific topic that is really difficult to explain, might as well do that, right? And
Yeah.
this is the path we are taking, is video generation, content generation, and a automatic multimodal content generation application, basically.
Fantastic. That's groundbreaking. I must say, from the start, in terms of your marketing reports, the equity research reports, I do have a lot of friends in VCs and C companies. I could see how that would benefit them. And most importantly, as a father of two under two myself, I think I'm finding that putting them in front of a video not only saves time, but also can educate them. So if you're able to kind of have that idea, as you've mentioned, where you can create those docu-series and encourage that way of learning, it's definitely has a wider application than just children, I must say. So yeah, it's definitely redefining industry standards and what you're doing in terms of innovation. Another question: Deep Search Labs optimizes or epitomizes, should I say, the synergy of AI with enhanced data analysis and also search functions. Are you able to share the milestones and hurdles you've encountered in this fusion?
Oh, lots. Like, we're continuously facing milestones and hurdles. And I think it's the name of the game, right?
Yeah,
So tech progress is much faster than any other fields, right? So if I was like in I don't know, like writing. Like writing has not changed dramatically since last 100 years, right? So it's still the same methodology. Somebody writes it, somebody edits it, somebody publishes it. So it's the same flow. It rarely changes. Whereas
Yeah.
tech changes very quickly, right? And in order to stay up to date, we need to continuously educate ourselves and we need to continuously learn.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is very difficult to keep on top of things. So what we've done is we started collaborating with universities like Imperial College London, Cardiff University, to be able to like stay up to date and understand what's out there, what can be achieved, what can't be achieved, and that has been very, very helpful. From a data engineering point of view, we have a beast of a machine because it crawls the web on different sorts of websites. We don't do targeted scraping. We crawl the web for everything that is on the web. So let's say we are scraping Deepsearch Labs like website. We would take everything from Deepsearch Labs website rather than just looking for a specific thing on there. And
Brilliant.
that means that we have all kinds of information, right? So this way of crawling requires a lot of machines to do this, to achieve it, and they need to be orchestrated in a nice way, right? In a proper
Yeah.
way, and there needs to be like a very fast way of processing this data, and that's on the MLOps part that we have worked on. The machines are quite computationally heavy. Basically, the machine that we've created that is behind Deepsearch Lab is very computationally heavy,
Yeah.
but it is extremely detailed, and it does what it's meant to do, which is give you all the information you require about a specific topic, whether that's Barbie like movie, or like a person like Trump, or a product like TikTok, or a company like Apple. You will get like everything you need about that specific search you've done within a specific date range. So you can see it within a week, within a month, within a year, within 3 months, half a year. So you don't have those kind of capabilities with other AI tools at the moment. Whereas with
Yeah.
ours, you can actually filter on like date range, sector, industry, region, country. So that required a
Brilliant.
lot of data analysis in the background, right? And that data analysis and the metadata that we are creating are very, very important to the entire ecosystem. So that's on the data side. Machine learning is its own beast. Machine learning is fantastic, but a huge beast as well. Machine learning algorithms, there are so many, right? Everybody can use them. The point
Yeah.
of these algorithms is how to productionize them. You, as a company, you don't just want to use them; you want to productionize them, right? So productionization of
Yeah.
algorithms is a different kind of field altogether. And then bringing these together in the format of an application that can be used by many users, it's a different game as well altogether. So there are three components to our company: data side, machine learning side, and then the application. So it's
Fantastic.
without these three, I think you have, and all three have to function well and they need to work coherently with one another. If they don't, then you are going to end up with an orchestra that the flute plays a different tune to like a piano that is playing some other sort of uh, like notes, basically. And you don't want that. And it's not a great cohesion, let's say.
Yeah, understood completely what you mentioned. I think linking that to what you've last said about productionizing algorithms, I think we've seen that a lot in music nowadays as well. And then obviously going back to what you've mentioned about being a computational heavy and extremely detailed, that being the kind of a details of your cog, should I say, the look of it, of the machine behind Deepsearch Labs, allowing you to kind of find time ranges, the sectors or country regions of anything from Barbie, as you mentioned, down to Apple. So I think it's definitely it elucidates the complexities of triumphs of integrating with AI, as you've mentioned. But moving on to an important topic, which I think everybody's keen to understand, especially when they're employing AI, is AI ethics. So, from kind of a critical dialogue within the industry, how does Deepsearch Labs tread this nuanced territory, especially concerning AI's broader implications?
So because we did a lot of work on the data, and we are very vigilant when it comes to the data, like the data side. We try to see what are the biases in our data sets and try to limit those biases. A lot of the current machine learning algorithms, they've been criticized for being racially biased, like gender biases, they have, and many other things. But because our data is less biased than most data that is used for training algorithms, the outputs tend to be respectful, unbiased. They don't produce really horrible outputs that sometimes you would hear about with regards to other commercial AI algorithms out there.
Yeah.
So that's, we did a lot of work on. Now, on the ethical parts of data, right? So data ingestion.
Yeah.
There are debates around that, right? So you do need large amounts of data to train an algorithm, but that doesn't necessarily mean those algorithms will be reproducing the exact same like data that they've been trained on, unless the data has been from one person, right? If the
Yeah.
data has been from one particular person, that algorithm would just keep producing in the same style of the person, like writing, right? However, if
Yeah.
it's from multiple different writers, then it is no different to a human that puts things together and summarize things, right? So this is something that I've been debating a lot about with industry people, is that, is there such a thing as copyright when it comes to uh, large language models or any sort of large algorithms? Because if you are inputting, like as a human, if you're taking 20 different inputs from different
Yeah.
reports or papers, and you summarize that, right, and you then reference them, you say, okay, so this I've taken from this 20 sources, right, and this is my summary of it. How different is that to what the large language models are doing currently, right? They're like literally
Very true.
summarizing information and then tagging it with references of like where they're coming from. So there are things that are a bit like, I feel like some things are being pushed by researchers, some things that probably just want to have some sort of a name out there. Some things are being pushed by companies, large companies who don't want competition, so they're trying to cut like small and medium-sized companies out, basically out of the game. And then some things are being pushed by some governments because they haven't actually had the knowledge or time to digest things, so they're just listening
Yeah.
to all these experts that they think are experts, but everybody's got their own agenda. So I think people just need to take a step back and breathe and like see,
Yeah.
okay, let this thing run for a bit and let's see what we get, right? And then set rules and regulations, whereas like they just immediately went for regulations, which I find really bizarre.
It's true.
um but from an ethical point of view, data scraping is the same as reading a page, right? For example, people have been saying, oh, my data should not be scraped. But if you're putting it on Twitter and the whole world can search it on Google and it appears as the first search, and if I click on it, I will be able to read it, then what's the difference between that and ingesting it, right? So
It's
then
true.
it should really like raise questions of how much people understand of sharing their data, like what the consequences of sharing their data is, or like, they should really think about that maybe a bit more, or maybe there should be more laws or surrounding how these companies are using the data, right? So if X is
Definitely.
like, if you're putting all of your thoughts on X, of course you're putting your brain on there. So what is X going to do with that data? Is it going to sell it? Of course it's going to sell it. It's going to make money from it. Same with Facebook, same with YouTube, same with TikTok, right? Every sort
Definitely.
of content platform would use what you've produced. But I think people just don't realize that their data gets used and sold, and like, in different ways, and that maybe there should be some sort of awareness created around that.
I agree with yourself. I think as you mentioned, in terms of regulation topics, it just gives them something to discuss, I believe, in politics, as there is other topics that should be paid attention to as well, although ethics is very
Absolutely.
important. Yeah, it needs to be discussed, as you mentioned. I think just going into what you said, I guess some bias is good. I guess also with your product being able to search sectors or countries or kind of a time range, you're definitely giving it or have information to infer. So I guess that bias is always going to be good depending on how you look at it. Taking in consideration there's nothing racial or gender included in that. And also taking a step back, I think the one thing we always say here, which is now a cliche, is that kind of someone using AI will replace you, not necessarily AI. And I think that's both on the kind of technical side, people developing AI, developing kind of the coding, the algorithms, they need to also be responsible. But then the actual users, as well as you pinpointed, those putting the information in certain systems, they also need to be understand the importance of responsibility in this technical progression that we're within. So yeah, thank you so much for that
Yeah,
answer as well. It's
absolutely.
definitely
Like, for
something different.
example, yeah, like, let me tell you another thing. Like, for example, people go on Twitter or Reddit and they type whatever that comes to their mind, right? And when you do analysis of these data, you actually realize a lot of the people, like, they just put things out there that you would never put out there if you were seeing them face to face. So
It's true.
using this sort of data for any sort of training is actually problematic. So you need to do a lot of cleaning. And yes, some biases are good. In general, all data will have bias, right? All data. You
Yeah,
can't get rid of it. Humans are biased in general, right? We all have our own biases and we put it out there, right? And the algorithms are amalgamation of these biases, but you can reduce it, right? So
I
as an
agree.
as an AI company, you need to take that responsibility and make sure that it is reduced. So the output is not harmful. The output is not biased in any sort of way. And that is the
Yeah.
responsibility of the company, not the responsibility of the data. The data, it's a different topic. I think people just have been very wild on the web, basically. And it's fine. It's like, it's a form of freedom, I guess. But at the same time, those data will get used and then they produce bad outputs. And
It's
if you're not
true.
careful, basically, so you need to like make sure you get rid of them or reduce them somehow. And yeah.
But I agree with you 100% on that. I think people only realize when they see me take a step back and actually consider in the AI narrative, what pioneering developments or directions do you anticipate will become central to search engines and also data analytics in the future?
So data analytics is a very important part, I think, of any system. And at the moment, a lot of the web, like online data, let's just focus on online data. We talk about
Yeah.
internal data later. But on the online data side, you have a lot of information that are not linked. So you have unlinked information, right?
Yeah.
And for example, Apple as a fruit is very different from Apple as a company, right? And so that's really important. To fix that is really important. And unfortunately, the web is not organized in that way. So when people created World Wide Web in the first place, they didn't think about organization. They just
It's
created it.
true.
And then now they're thinking about organization and trying to link things. And it's huge amounts of data on there. That means processing power is going to be a lot, right? So what is the solution? I think the solution is slowly, maybe going forward, try to fix these sorts of things, which a lot of companies have started doing. So if you, for example, go on BBC website, you will see that underneath the articles you will have tags. So those tags are like topics within the article, right? And those tags are important because then you can click on them and then you get all information about a specific company or organization, or and that's on the data side. And we need that across all kinds of websites and all of the search engines, basically. So that's one side. On the machine learning side, you need smart ways that would reduce costs of running certain algorithms, right? And I think you can see some companies are focusing on that. And I think that's something that we will focus on as well. And we have been, like, throughout our
Yeah.
process of building, we've been focusing on how to reduce the cost, how to not go overboard with it. Can we actually replace a certain algorithm that is so expensive with something like less heavy? Um, and would it produce the same outputs? How much training
Yeah.
does it require, right? So you need to be very smart in the way you are putting together your architecture. and creating architecture. Now, for the future of
Yeah.
search, I think the future of search is going to be both internal and external data combined, right? And internal data also requires linking, just like external data. So that's another story. But combining internal and external data is the most important thing, because you have external data, that is online data, huge gold mine of information. And then you have internal data that you collect, you curate as an individual. That is also a gold mine, because it's nuggets of gold mines, nuggets of
Yeah.
golds, right? So you want to combine these nuggets of gold with your gold mine and then see what you get, right? And this way you would never fall behind. The problem that's happening in the industry is that they are focusing everything on their own internal data. That just creates echo chambers, right? And this we saw during pandemic when COVID-19 was appearing. It was called the pneumonia disease, right? In November 2019, that from Wuhan, that was killing lots of people and people were not feeling better. Nobody cared. Like, in the West, no one even talked about it. I was following
Yeah.
that piece of information, and I started buying my family gloves, masks, like, everything, because I thought if somebody goes to China, comes back here, then it's very fast spreads of the germs. So we will get something, right?
Yeah.
And then I remember when like the West got hit, it was Italy first. Then Italy went into shutdown. And then suddenly the West started getting a bit paranoid. Then UK went into shutdown. And then things started getting a bit more obvious. And then all the funds that were like investment managers that did not even think about COVID because it never even crossed their path, were suddenly in a place where they were losing, like they tried to bounce back up, right? And that shows one thing: you can't have echo chambers, because if you have echo chambers, you just have the same thing that you had happened during COVID, where you just knew your internal data was saying something and you were happy with whatever the internal data was saying, and you didn't care what the external people were saying. So then you
Yeah.
missed out on the trend, which was COVID, right? And so I think the future is mixture of internal external data, trying to create a search engine around those two combined. But they need to
Yeah.
be of great quality in order for them to produce meaningful outputs. And meaningful outputs means no hallucination, no random comments, no general information. You don't want generic things. You want actually detailed information, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so that I see as the future of search, is combining internal and external data and then being able to quickly create content, right? And that's something we have started focusing on, and I'm hoping that it will keep growing and growing our business so that we can get it to a place where everyone can use it, from customers to like normal people in the streets, where they can get any content that they want desired from internal and external data.
Mention your foresight into AI's trajectory is it's not only fascinating but pivotal for our audience. I think linking external to the internal data, especially your example of COVID, kind of linking the external news of to what we're actually doing internally. I think it has a positive outcomes overall for everyone's life. So you can definitely see if that's the future of search engineering optimizations. We're definitely in for a great future, should I say, in terms of the effect that it will have on us. But now let's pivot to some breezy, quick-fire questions to peel back the layers and also a peek into your personal likes and quirks. So, are you ready for our light-hearted quick-fire section, Miriam?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Let's go. So, do you prefer paintings or sculptures?
I love sculptures, but they have to be human sculptures. I love
Yeah.
human body. And so I used to do art, and I still do art. I love watercolors. And then at some point I got into sculpture, and actually I find human body sculptures beautiful. And
Yeah.
like, if I could, I would have a garden. If I could, it's too expensive. If I could, I would have a garden filled with lots of statues all around the garden. I just love that. It's my favorite thing. So sculpture is definitely.
But keep pushing the boundaries with your business, and I'm sure that's something you're not too far away from in the distant future. I agree with yourself as well. Sculptures, I think it takes another level of art to actually go into carving it in that kind of dimension. But to our next question, do you prefer historical fiction or?
Ooh, historical fiction, because I love to learn about a piece of history. So it doesn't matter if it is like like it includes magic, or I don't know, like warhammers or something. It needs to have a bit of like history in it, and it needs to be factual. And if that factual bit is inside, I love it, because I would learn something and then it's not a waste, like for me.
I
So I
agree.
would prefer historical fiction than fantasy.
Brilliant answer. Thanks again. Are you more into silence or noise?
Silence.
Perfect.
Silence, because I just enjoy silence. Like I can work better in silence. There's flow in silence.
Yeah, well, I agree. Although in the office we tend to have music going on 24/7 in the background. So yeah,
Oh
it's
no.
definitely I understand. Yeah, you would hate it here. Do you prefer if either spicy or mild?
What's that? Sorry, what was that?
Spicy or mild?
Oh, spicy or mild. So it's quite interesting, because my partner is South African and he loves chili. So when we first started dating, I was like lemon, what was that? Lemon and herb in
Lemon and
Nando's.
herb, yeah.
Yes. And then now I'm medium. So I've grown. My tolerance has grown, and I'm quite proud of myself for that. So I think I'm now mild, maybe. Not too spicy. I can't do that. That's too much. Being mild.
Perfect. No, that makes perfect sense, to be honest. I'm also on the medium in Nando's, so I'm probably mild as well. I would have said spicy, but you definitely changed that perception for myself. Do you live in a tree? Oh, prefer to live in a tree house or a cave house?
Oh, treehouse. Treehouse, because you can see the entire view. View is matters more than, I don't like enclosed spaces, actually, to be honest. I like
It's
windows,
true.
and lots of windows, and like open spaces. Yeah, so
Great.
treehouse.
No, a great perspective on it in terms of what you can see. I know I've asked it to previous people and they thought more about safety. So I guess it depends how you look at it, which one will be better suited. But would you prefer to own a dragon or be a dragon?
I would like to own a dragon rather than be a dragon, because then you can
Yeah.
control it and you can always win and strategize. Whereas a dragon can't strategize. So I'll own a dragon rather than be a dragon. What did the previous
Fantastic.
people say?
That's the first time I've asked this question, to be honest. So
Uh,
definitely a new one. And the last question for yourself, would you prefer to be a best-selling author or a famous musician?
I would like to be a famous musician, because I play the piano, and I know that I compose music, and composing music is very difficult. So to be a perfect musician, I assume you mean by composer, by musician.
No,
I
definitely.
assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was previously into music before diving into recruitment, so I definitely know how much attention, different kind of A/B testing goes into, as mentioned, composing. It's definitely it takes different skills than being a best-selling author, and I believe to be a best-selling author, those skills are transferable into actually becoming a musician or composer. That creativity is definitely what you need in both. But
But I
moving
think as
on,
a
we always
composer,
sorry.
there's also, oh, sorry, as a composer, there's also another element. You expose yourself, uh, and you need to be prepared on how much you like exposed, right? So you look at Brahms, you look at, like, I don't know, like Bach, they're totally different personalities. You look at Beethoven, you can actually see his anger coming through and frustration, but he's actually a romantic at times. And I think he's very misunderstood. So I would have him as my best friend, actually, Beethoven. But Liszt, I would have as a lover, because he's a player. He plays with all keys, like on the piano, and it's absolutely brilliant, just breathtaking to have a brain like that, so open and wild. Um, and like, you know, he's like, you see them exposed, like their personalities exposed. So I think art and music reveals a lot about the individuals behind them, whereas I think writing, you can hide behind words
Yeah.
easily.
Sure. Previously, we had a lovely lady called Angie Ma. She's the co-founder of a company called Faculty. They basically build and deploy safe AI systems that kind of combines the best of human and also AI. But her question, as she's always eager to learn more from experiences, particularly in driving AI adoption, are you able to share your observation on the challenges organizations face when adopting AI and any advice or strategies that you found effective in ensuring their successful AI integration?
Yeah, so absolutely. So actually, the first part of the question is in twofold. One is like, what should actually organizations adopt AI, right? So that's one thing. It depends on the organization, right? If you are a bank and you're spending like a lot of money employing engineers and then trying to use all these open source things, or like, you know, open AI like products, right, to
Yeah.
build in-house, you're not going to achieve much, because data part is the most important part. I keep saying that, but it's the most important part.
It's
And
true.
a lot of companies have fragmented, not continuous data, right? So, and they never bothered cleaning this data. So the data part would take so long to fix before they can even adopt like the AI part. So what is the best solution? In my opinion, is that a lot of the companies are now exploring, but at some point they're going to outsource, because the costs are going to be so high that it just makes no sense to like build in-house. So we're going to go back to a place where initially all the companies were holding data and then they started outsourcing to like other countries. And I think we're going to
Yeah.
go through that phase as well with machine learning algorithms. Now, if you want to build now, you need to ensure that your data is of good quality before you even embark on like creating any sort of machine learning algorithms for use cases inside the companies,
Definitely.
because you don't want to have rubbish in, rubbish out. That's what we always said when I was a quant. I had a colleague. His name was David King. We used to work together. He always said, "Oh, you don't want junk in, junk out, right? You need to ensure that the quality of data that goes into the system is actually good quality." And actually,
Yeah.
90% of the work that we do in machine learning is data. The 10% is algorithm, and
Yeah.
that still stands, right? And I think a lot of companies are jumping on the machine learning side without focusing on the data. And that data, I think data engineers are going to become the most important people in the future, in my opinion.
Ensuring.
No, absolutely, please do so.
Fantastic. And for our next guest, we've got a gentleman called Mario Ramick. He's the founder of an organization called Takeaway Reality. And they're basically a augmented reality and virtual reality consultation and design company based in the UK. What would your question be for Mario on our next podcast episode?
I think my question would be, is augmented reality a vision or reality?
Perfect question. I look forward to finding out his answer as well. It's definitely an insightful one. But as we draw this enlightening session to a close, Miriam, are you able to share where our listeners can delve deeper into your work and also Deepsearch Labs innovations?
Yep. If you want to find out more about our company, you can go on our website, deepsearchlabs.com. We have a lot of information on there. You can basically explore. We put our contents that we create as well on there, so you can see like how our reports are generated, how our videos are generated, and if you're interested in generating the same things, you can come to us. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. We post on weekly basis like different sorts of things, like trending topics, like different videos and different topics. And I think it's quite just nice to like for information gathering anyways, and learning new concepts. So do follow us on
Definitely.
there. And if you have any more questions, you can just get in touch. We are always happy to answer any questions you've got. There's a contact page on deepsearchlabs.com, so you can basically send us an email or a message.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, I'll be sure to put all of that information in the About Us section under our YouTube podcast platform, our Spotify, and also our Apple Music. But again, thank you so much, Maryam, for a riveting dialogue here at SAS Leaders Lounge. To our audience, your thirst for knowledge fuels our quest for remarkable guests, just like Miriam. So subscribe, stay informed, and continue to explore the marvels of the AI and also SAS with us. Until next time, keep innovating, keep pushing. Well, thank you so much, Maryam. Take care again.
Thank you, Ramon, for having me. Bye bye.